Hello everyone. So today we will be learning about types of data. Okay. So what did we do in our previous section? We learned about the definitions. We learned few definitions of certain terminologies. So this we did in section 1.1, right? And we also went through certain examples where we were supposed to identify the population parameters, statistics, etc. So today we will be learning about types of data. So in short, we will be learning about different types of data, and those data types will be subdivided into few types, and then we will also see certain examples of those data types. Okay, so let's get started. So just to refresh, we know that parameter is a numerical description of population, and statistic is a numerical description of a sample. Okay, so for example of this. Now, if I want to know the IQ scores at Tamusisi, okay, so now I want to know the IQ scores of the students in Tamusisi. Now, what is my parameter? The whole Tamusisi students. The IQ score of whole of the complete students will be my parameter. Okay. Now, for example, let's say that will be 100, and students IQ scores of students in stat scores. Okay, that will be my statistic. Okay, this will be my statistic parameter and statistic. Okay, remember, parameter is associated with the population, statistic is associated with the sample. Got it? Now let's see what are the data types. So data is divided into two types. Mainly it is divided into two types, that is numerical and categorical. Okay, so this numerical data is subdivided into two types, that is continuous and discrete. Okay, so one more thing is the numerical data type is also called as quantitative. Quantity or quantitative. Categorical is the qualitative. Okay, so just keep these things in your mind. So now let's define one by one. Quantitative or numerical data. As the name says, color. As the name says, numerical, right? So that means this data type consists of numbers. So the data which consists of numbers representing the counts or measurements is called as quantitative or numerical data. Okay, something or the other, like the data whichever has a number. It can be any number. Okay, it can be anything. If it has a number, if the data has a number, then you can straight away write that that data is a numerical data. Okay, so for example, the weights, the ages, or I can say the height of a people, right? So the height will be measured, or the height is represented through numbers, right? 4 inch or 4 feet. So these are the numbers, and that is why we call these data as numerical data. Okay, that is the first type. Now let us see some more examples for this. So the examples will be height, weight, temperature. Temperature is a number, right? Salary, it has, this is also represented by numbers. Age, score, your percentages, etc. Okay, so all these examples belong to numerical data. Now, the second type of data is categorical or qualitative data. Okay, categorical or qualitative data. So the data which consist of names or labels. Names or labels is called as categorical data. Or just to remember, I can say if the data consists of letters, alphabets, then you can straight away say that that data is a categorical. Okay, for example, your grades. Example for this type of data will be your grades, right? Your grades will be A, B, C, D, E, F, etc. So those grades will belong to categorical data. Or I can also say the city name, the street name, or gender, etc. So all these examples belong to qualitative data or categorical data. Now, as I told you, quantitative data, which is numerical data, also called as numerical data, that means the data which consists of numbers, that is divided into two types, right? It is divided into two types, which is discrete and continuous types. Discrete and continuous type. Now, what is discrete data? A data which are quantitative, that means which consist of numbers, and that numbers must be countable. Okay, the data which consist of numbers and that numbers should be countable, or in other words, the values must be finite. Okay, so examples is number of tosses of a coin. So you toss once, or you can toss twice. So that numbers you can count, right? Or what else? I can give number of students. Number of students in my class. I can count. Or I can also say number of students in WebEx who are actually sleeping right now. So that can also be an example. I can actually count, right? So that is those examples belong to discrete data. Okay, the data which are countable. Now next is continuous or continuous numerical data. Okay, So what is continuous numerical data? It's the same data values which are quantitative. Okay, it has to be quantitative, which means which are numbers, which are numbers. Okay, and those numbers must be measurable. Okay, what do you mean? What do I mean by measure? For example, if I want to know the distance between 2 points, okay, so this is my start point, this is my end point. So this starts from 0. I have 6 centimeters, 0 centimeter. Now, if I want to know the distance between these two, I can find out. The length will be the distance, right? So that means I'm measuring it. Now, if I want to know the height of certain person, I can measure it. So that those type of data belong to continuous data. For example, I can say the distance between two objects, or I can even measure the volume of water in a bottle. So those examples will belong to continuous data. The data which is measurable. Okay. Some more examples will be, let us see, for discrete data, I can say number of kids. I can count, and number of languages a person speaks. Okay. So likewise, we have certain examples. Now, examples for this continuous data will be height of a person, as I said you, or I can also measure the weight of cars, or I can also tell the speed of the train, right? All these datas are measurable, and that's why these belong to continuous data. Okay, so this is about types of data. What is the next topic? Next, what we have is levels of measurement. Okay, so in how many levels we can measure the data? Now, the main levels of measurements are nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. There are 4 levels of measurement. This topic, this section is very important because your lab assignment depends on this. Okay, so I think it's lab 1, assignment 1, lab assignment, where you are supposed to categorize your data into certain data types. Okay, you will be having certain variables. You will be having certain variables, and you have to tell that variable belong to which data type. Okay, and also you will also have to tell the levels of measurement. So please do study this carefully. Okay, so coming back to levels of measurement. Levels of measurement are of 4 types: nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. Okay, nominal level of measurement. So the data which consist of names, labels, or categories will belong to this kind of measurement. And remember that data should not be arranged in some order. Okay, for example, brand of smartphones. Okay, let me give an options. So these are few smartphones which are used by most of the people. Okay, and as you can see, this data consists of names, or I can say letters, right? These are the labels of the smartphone. So this can be considered as nominal level of measurement. Okay, and another example: yes, no, or I can say undecided. Well, As you can see, this is not in some order, right? It is not in an order. But these consist of names, right? For example, I can ask you, do you find my lecture boring? Well, some of you can say yes. Okay, no. Let me be confident about myself. So let's say that none of them say yes. Okay, so none of them say yes, and some or most of them choose no. And there are few people who will choose undecided. Those are people who are busy taking their nap. Okay, so those kind of survey responses, which consist of names and they are not in an order, belongs to nominal level of measurement. Okay, now next we have is ordinal level of measurement. Okay, ordinal level of measurement. So the data which can be arranged in some order. Okay, the data which is arranged in an order, but the differences between those values cannot be determined, or they are, I say, meaningless. Okay, so remember, now we are studying about that data which should have some order. Okay, the data which you choose must be in some order, but when you subtract those two values, the values should not be determined. Okay, for example, the best example is your course grade. Now I can say one student got A, another student got B, and the other student got, the third student got C. Now if I want to subtract these two, A minus B, what is my answer? I don't know, because this you cannot determine. Well, this is in an order, right? A, B, C. It's in an order. But when you subtract these two values, you can see that the answer is meaningless, or we can say undetermined, right? So these type of data belong to ordinal level of measurement. Okay. So one more example will be the you have the customer satisfaction survey, right? uh, there are some surveys which you get after using some online services. They ask you how satisfied are you with our service. So now they will be giving you these options, right? 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 star, and 5 star. This, as you can see, this is in an order, right? It is in an order, but this, I can say, this is unsatisfied, unsatisfied. Now if I want to subtract these two, what is my answer? I don't know, right? It is meaningless. You cannot subtract unsatisfied word with this word. It is definitely meaningless, right? So these type of examples belong to ordinal level of measurement. What is our next one? It is interval level of measurement. Okay, so interval level of measurement, the data which can be arranged in an order, and the differences between those two values or certain data values can be found, and they are meaningful. Okay, the data, it has to be in an order, it should be in an order, and the differences should be determined, such data will belong to interval level of measurement. For example, years. So if you can see, this is definitely in an order. So, for example, we have this example, okay? Years. So this can be arranged in an order: 1000, 1492, 1776, and 2000. Okay. Now I can see this example, this data is arranged in an order, and when I subtract these two, will I get a value? Yes, I will definitely get a value. That means I can determine the difference between the data values. Okay, and it is definitely meaningful, right? So this type of data belongs to interval level of measurement. So and other examples, it can be other examples can be temperature in a day, right? It varies, but it is arranged in an order, because at, for example, at 6 a.m. the temperature is 39 degree. Let's say 30 degree. At 7 a.m. it can be, say, 32, and so on. Well, 6, 7, 8, 9, these are in an order, and when you subtract these two, the difference between the data values is determined. It can be determined, and it is definitely meaningful, right? So that can be one example, and another example can be the duration of our class. So our class starts at 12 and ends at 12:50. It is in an order, and when I subtract these two, I will get some value, or say answer. So this example, or this duration, the data of this duration belongs to interval level of measurement. Okay. Now, what is next? Ratio level of measurement. What is ratio level of measurement? The data should be in an order, and the differences can be found, and it has to be meaningful, and there should be a zero starting point. There must be a zero starting point. Okay, this is the main difference between the interval and ratio, because as you can see, in the interval level, the data is arranged in an order, the differences can be found, and it is meaningful. When it comes to a ratio level of measurement, as you can see here also the data is arranged in an order, differences are found and are meaningful. In addition to that, there must be a zero starting point. Okay, so those type of data is called as those type of data belongs to ratio level of measurement. Okay, for example, what is your friend's height? If I ask you what is your friend's height, you might give me some range, right? You can say some 4 feet, 5 feet, 6 inch. So, for example, I can ask you the price of a college textbook. So, for example, I can ask you or I can give you an example of the price of a textbook, right? It can be $100, $150, or it can be of no cost. No cost in the sense $0. So, see, we have zero in the in this data. So this belongs to ratio level of measurement. Okay, or you can also find the height of some object. It can have like 1 inch or it can be 2 inch. It can have zero height also, right? So those type of data which will have a 0 point present in that data will belong to ratio level of measurement. Okay, now next. So this was all about data types and different types of level of measurement. Okay, as I said you, that is the one which we studied just now is very important. Okay, next what we have is big data. So as the name tells you, data big. Okay, the data which is large, complex, will be very difficult to analyze, right? So if you have a very big data, then it is difficult to analyze. So we will be needing certain software which can analyze these big data. So that is called as big data. Okay. What is data science? Data science is a field of study where that field of study involves using the statistical applications and also combining with the computer science, and all the data which is obtained through statistics will be applied to into a software to analyze. So that type of so next what we have is next what we have is data science. What is data science? Data science is a field of study where it involves the application of statistics, computer science, and also software engineering. That means if you have, as I said, if you have big data, then you must have some knowledge about computer science so that you can apply this big data into a software to analyze, right? So that field of studying these things is called as data science. Next, what we have is missing data. So, in statistics, missing data occurs when this occurs when no data value is stored for the variable, and it can be due to some reasons. Okay, so in statistics, this is a common thing which happens sometimes. So there can be no data value recorded for that variable. Okay, it can be because of the person, of the individual who is not willing to respond to the to that question, to that particular question, so that the answer for that question will be a blank, which means there is no data in that position. So this is called as missing data. Now, there are two types of missing data. Okay, there are two types of missing data. First one is missing completely at random and missing not at random. Missing completely at random and missing not at random. Missing not at random, and this is missing completely at random. This is the short form. Okay. So, what is this missing completely at random? That means there are two types of missing data, that is missing completely at random and missing not at random. So, what is this missing completely at random? It means that the missingness is nothing to do with the person being studied. For example, you might be taking some survey questions and you might lose some questionnaire, right? So that is not because of the person being studied, right? That is because of you. So that data which is missing is not because of the person being studied, is not because of the individual, or it is not because of the people who is answering to your question, right? So that kind of data, that kind of missing data is called as missing completely at random. Okay. What is missing not at random? Missing not at random means if the missing value is related to the person being studied, then we say missing not at random. Now, what can we do to correct this missing data? Okay. Remember, missing completely at random does not have anything to do with the person being studied. It does not depend on the person being studied. This missing value is related to the reason that it is missing. Okay, now what can we do to correct this missing data? Well, there are two things you can do. One is you can delete the entire column of that data. Okay, so this is a very common method used nowadays. Okay, so what you can do is missing data can be deleted. What is the second step? To impute missing values. You can insert the missing values depending on the other data you have on that person. Okay, so these are the two things you can do to correct the missing data. Now, this is what we studied today. We studied about the data types, different types of data types, and different types of levels of measurement and examples on each of them. And then we also studied about big data, data science, missing data, and what can we do to correct those missing data. Okay. Now, these are few examples which is asking us to identify the levels of measurement. Now, major. Now, as I said you, let me recall, levels of measurement is of four types: nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio, right? So nominal means which has letters, labels, or categories, and it should not be in an order. Now, major. So your major can be anything. It can be mathematics, marine biology, or see computer science, right? It can be anything. Now, as you can see here, this is not in an order. This is not in any kind of order. But these are the names, right? These are the names of the major. So this belongs to what? Nominal. Okay. Next one. Temperature. So this is a number. It can be 20 degree, 30 degree, 40 degree, or anything. But very interesting thing is these are numbers, so it can belong to two things: interval and ratio, right? When it is numbers, it can belong to two level of measurement: interval and ratio. So what is the difference between these two level of measurement? Interval does not has 0, whereas ratio it has 0 value. Okay, so let's see about the temperature. Now, what if the temperature is 0 degree? Does that mean there is no temperature? Right? So, as you can see, this 0 degree, even if the temperature is 0 degree, it has some meaning, right? So, temperature cannot be the 0 degree. So, and that is why we say this belongs to interval. Okay, even though temperature has 0 degree value, it has no meaning. It will not uh, loses value, right? Even though there is 0 degree temperature, we do not say there is no temperature at all. And that is why this temperature belong to interval. It does not belong to ratio, it belong to interval. Okay, now next, number of toss of coins. This is nothing but the probability. Okay, so let's not go into that subject. Number of toss of coins. It is definitely a number. Does this have a 0? And even if it has 0, will that have some meaning? Let's see, there is a 0 value. What does that mean? If it has 0 value, it means there is no toss of coins. There is 0 number of toss of coins. So there is a meaning. And that's why it belongs to ratio. Okay. Next, phone number. Well, it is a number, and if you put some 0 between, it will not lose its meaning, right? So, for example, if you have 1, 2, 3, 0, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, it is still a number. Putting 0 in the middle will not lose its essence. And that's why I can say it is nominal. Color. Okay, now be very careful with this. When it comes to letters, we will have two types of levels of measurement. That is ordinal and nominal. Okay, remember the major difference between these two is ordinal, as the name says, it has to be in an order, nominal, not in order. Now tell me what this belongs to. Observe carefully: light blue, blue, deep blue. Right? As you can see, this is in an order. How? First, they are saying that it is a light color. Then the brightness increases, so it becomes a medium blue brightness, medium brightness, and then it is deep or a dark blue. Right? So there is a order in the color. In the brightness level, there is a order in the brightness level, and that's why it belongs to ordinal, not to nominal. Okay, and this is why you have to be very careful. Okay, there is some space, so let me put this here. Okay, now color. So here they have not even specified which color or the order of the color, and that's why you can directly write this is a nominal. Why? Because this is a letter and this is not in an order. Okay. Year. This is a number and it will definitely be in an order. When you find the difference between two data values, it gives you some answer, and that's why it belongs to interval. Okay. Heights and widths. Well, it can consist of zero value, and even if there is a zero in the answer, it becomes some meaningful. It will not lose its presence. So I can say it is ratio. Names, letters, so definitely it is nominal. Ratings, well, this is in an order, right? But as you can see, what are the ratings? It is poor, good, excellent. It is a letter. It is in an order. Therefore, it is ordinal. Okay. So, these are the examples. I think these examples are more than enough to understand the level of measurements. And this is it for section 1.2. See you all in the next class.